So with all the UAP hearings and the constant buzz in the news, it really feels like we're on the edge of something big, right? But what if the story we're all following is actually a massive misdirection? Today we're diving into the pretty explosive claims from Dr. Stephen Greer. He's been a major figure in the UFO disclosure movement for decades, and he argues the biggest secret isn't about aliens at all. It's about a 70-year-old human conspiracy. Let's get into it.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at a recent UFO story that got everybody's attention. Then, we'll get into what Greer calls the deception playbook. After that, we'll tackle the wild idea of man-made UFOs, compare the public hearings to what's supposedly happening in secret, and then we'll land on his ultimate takeaway from all this.
All right, first up, the story that's been making the rounds online. This object they're calling 3I/Atlas. I mean, people have called it everything from a comet to an alien mothership.
And that really sets up the central question here, doesn't it? Are we looking at some kind of historic first contact? Or are we, the public, the target of a really sophisticated psychological operation? Well, Dr. Greer has a very, very strong opinion on which one it is.
You know, what's really fascinating is how quickly Greer dismissed the hype. He basically says there's zero, and I mean zero, data to suggest this thing is being intelligently controlled. He admits it's probably not a comet, but he thinks the alien mothership idea is ridiculous. It could just be old space junk for all we know. And that deep skepticism, that's really the key that unlocks his entire way of thinking about this.
And he doesn't stop there. He actually claims the whole mothership story is being pushed on purpose. From his point of view, it's all part of a very prominent disinformation gaslighting operation. A mouthful, I know, but the goal is simple: to get the public worked up and panicked.
And that leads us right into the heart of Greer's whole argument. This idea of manufacturing an alien threat isn't new. In fact, he says it's part of a very old playbook. He calls things like the 3I/Atlas hype, and even those drone scares from last year, psyops, psychological operations. The idea, he says, was to see how we'd react. You know, to test the waters and see just how much panic you could create with a supposed threat from the sky.
For him, this isn't some futuristic conspiracy. It's a classic intelligence strategy, the oldest game in the book, just scaled up to a massive global level to mess with all of our heads.
And according to Greer, this plan goes way back, all the way back to 1954. He even points to a supposed deathbed warning from the legendary rocket scientist Wernher von Braun, who allegedly told his protege back in 1974 that a fake alien threat would be the final card the military-industrial complex would play to keep its power.
Okay, so this leads us to the most mind-bending part of his argument, because if you're going to fake an alien invasion, you need some pretty convincing props, right? Well, Greer's claim is that a lot of the most advanced UFOs people see, they're not alien at all. They're ours.
And there's that year again, 1954. It wasn't just about a secret plan. According to Greer, that's the exact year that these covert programs finally cracked stable anti-gravity propulsion. The term he uses is electrogravitic. It's a fancy word for systems that basically control gravity to fly. He even suggests that those old black and white films from the 40s and 50s, the ones where the craft kind of flutter like a leaf, he says those were our early prototypes, not vehicles from another star system. So Greer draws this really sharp line in the sand. On one side, you have the man-made craft like those famous black triangles. They're incredibly advanced, yes, but they're still human tech. On the other side, he says, you have the real extraterrestrial vehicles, and they operate on a whole different level. They're transdimensional. They don't just fly from point A to point B. It's more like they fold space and time so that A and B are in the same spot, instantaneous. And he is not vague about who he thinks is building these things. He points the finger directly at huge defense contractors, Lockheed Skunk Works, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, all hidden away in these super-secret, compartmentalized programs.
So what about the public congressional hearings that we're all watching? Well, this is where Greer says there are two completely different things happening: the show for the public and the real progress happening behind closed doors. He has let's just say, a very blunt take on the public hearings. He calls them a dog and pony show. He even quotes Shakespeare, saying they are sound and fury signifying nothing.
So why is he so dismissive? Well, he claims that the really important witnesses, the ones who were there, who saw it all firsthand, they're being actively blocked from ever testifying in public.
The people we see, he argues, are just minor players, not the insiders who could blow the lid off the whole thing.
But, and this is a huge but, while he calls the public stuff pure theater, he claims that in private meetings with very senior officials in the Senate, the House, and law enforcement, unbelievable progress is actually being made towards a real, genuine disclosure.
And that brings us to the final and most important part. If we tie all these different threads together, what's the grand conclusion? What is the real secret that Dr. Greer is trying to get out?
His whole worldview really boils down to 3 simple steps. 1, the whole alien threat thing is a psyop. 2, we built a lot of these UFOs ourselves. And 3, the whole point of all this secrecy isn't to hide aliens from us, it's to hide this revolutionary technology.
So according to Dr. Greer, the biggest conspiracy in human history isn't that they're hiding aliens. It's that they're hiding a technological revolution that we achieved, ourselves, more than 70 years ago. And he does not mince words about how serious this is. He actually describes the covert group hiding all this as the world's largest racketeering influence corrupt organization, basically using the same RICO laws that were designed to take down the mafia.
And if you consider this perspective, even for a moment, the whole focus of the UFO debate gets turned completely on its head. The basic question we've all been asking might just be the wrong one.
Because if Dr. Greer's narrative is even a little bit true, then maybe the most profound secret in the world isn't, are we alone in the universe? Maybe the real question is, what incredible things have we as a species been hiding from ourselves for the last 70 years?